So good evening, everybody. My name is Dexter Wallace, and I'm the director of the Communities of Practice vertical, which is bringing this webinar to you. Happy to be back here with all of you. As you know, of late, we've been doing a lot of other kind of virtual events, which are half-day events as part of the Beyond 10 series. So glad to be doing a focused webinar back again. We have with us our very own Saraswathi Anand, who is an MCC and is with the Mumbai chapter, and she is with her partner who is over here. There you can see him, Nitin Giyal, and they are going to be leading us through this learning journey today. Just to tell you who else is here, we have a colleague of mine, Shalini. Say hi, Shalini, who is with the
Hi
COP.
everyone.
Yeah, there she is, vertical. And Shalini and I together will be, managing this show in terms of looking out for what you may be asking as questions and passing them on to the speakers and doing any other little kind of chore that you need us to keep the webinar flowing. Otherwise, we are not going to get in the way of our speakers. So largely, this is going to be their show, but we will be here to help the process through. We also have Nandini, who is part of almost everything that we do, and you've heard me use her name. Nandini is our admin and tech support, and without her, I don't think we could run any kind of webinar. Uh, Plus, she does a whole lot of things beyond just being tech and admin support. So, thank you, Nandini, and happy to see you here as always. We have some procedures that we need to look at following is one is please stay on camera as much as possible because I'm sure our speakers would like to see faces and not just frozen images or your name in as a text message. But of course, if you have anything else to do during the time, which I hope you don't, you're permitted to go off camera and definitely please keep your audio muted because we tend to hear a lot of conversations that you may not want us to hear, including we've heard people ordering groceries and we've had instructions to the maid and we've had lovely, wonderful asides that we wish we could have spent more time on, but it was not really part of the plan. Sanjeev Bhatia over here, the president of ICF Mumbai, is smiling over there. He's had a very long day, I know, because I've been part of his long day. And I'm sure once I finish, he would like to say a few words, as exhausted as he is, probably. But he's a man with a cherry disposition, a never say die attitude, and always, ready to give everything to the learning process. So, Sanjeev, thanks so much for who you are and what you do. We have some of the processes, as we said, besides this. We are also going to give you the CCU claim form, which will be posted on the chat towards the end. It's a CCEU as well as feedback combined form. So within that, you will find that we are asking you what you liked about it and what feedback you'd like to give, and also claim your CCUs, which is we have 1.5 CCUs, which is 1 CC and zero point 0.5 RD. Am I right about that, Nandini? Yeah, of course. And of course, Aniket knows because he's made the creative for this and for every event. So he knows everything about every event because it has to run through his creative mind before it reaches here. Well, other than that, when you do get your CCU form, please fill the name that you'd like, your name that you would like to receive the certificate in, the way you probably registered with ICF Global, and be sure to put the correct email address because otherwise the form will go to an email address that you may not be using. So please be careful when you put in your email address. Now, the topic today is an interesting one, and I'm not going to talk more about it because I would like to give maximum time to our speakers. But as you can imagine, so many things have changed in the world. The whole aspect of coaching is quite different than it was. Even ICF have amended their competencies to be more contemporary and relevant to the times. So it's but natural to say if we can have a different approach and have to understand the different nuances of coaching individuals, what must it be for teams? So we're talking about the evolving landscape of team coaching. We're not saying that it is fixed. We're not saying that we've got a magic wand. We're not saying that, whatever we are saying over here is exactly what it's going to be, because everything is already in motion and we don't really know where it is going to. But at least with what we know about the ecosystem that we are operating in, our two speakers are going to try and take us through that to see how we can cope and how we can ride the waves and ride the crest of picking up skills so that we can be more effective team coaches and stay current and contemporary. uh, our speakers today, as I already briefly mentioned to you, is Saraswathi Anand, who is MCC and ACTC and is a whole systems coach. She is a co-founder of Systemic Coaching International along with her partner and buddy. So Saras is an MCC, and she and Nitin do a lot together. You may find a lot of their webinars on their own platform. So please keep looking out for their webinars too, because there's a lot going on over there. Uh, Nitin is experienced in leading and coaching teams. That's why he's here, and he works with systems. He's also a co-founder, as I already told you. And I'd allow you to discover more about them as we go along. The learning objectives are already out on the flyer, and as we go along, you'll see how dynamic those learning objectives are as well. Well, as far as questions that you may have, you may put them in the chat box. We will keep an eye out for them. Somewhere along the line, there will be some breakout rooms coming where you'll get a chance to actually discuss with your colleagues over here about some of the topics that will be framed for you by our speakers. And if at all you need to raise any question in between by voicing it, you could mention that in the chat, and then we will find an appropriate time in which to help you raise your voice. Of course, at the end of everything, depending on how much time is available, I'm sure our speakers would like to take a few questions as well so that we can round up with a more fuller understanding or an appreciation of the topic. Well, over to you, Sanjeev, and then we will just hand over the entire platform to Saras and Nitin to take us through.
Thank you, Dexter. It's always a pleasure to be here. And welcome and good evening, good morning to people far off places. Um, my fellow coaches, my very engaged, seasoned speakers, Saraswati, my friend, and of course, Nathan, I'm yet to interact with you at the deeper level. Yes, friends, I think it's always good to know what our team, the managing committee is doing. Dexter, Sandeep, Aniket, and all of them have reached to a stage as a president where I don't peek into what they're doing actually. Because the more I do, the more I get surprises. So I think every time I ask a question, the answers are so fabulous that I really don't say, boss, no more questions to them at all now. I'm reached to a stage where I'm always open to surprises, what they bring to me. And today is one of the surprises. This is one of the thing most wanted events where the team coaching, which is really is so important. Like people have been talking to me, members individually, and suddenly I saw the flyer when it came. I was really pleasantly surprised. We all know that, and the last about past decades, we have witnessed the coaching evolved from one to one. Any other noise coach to season coach, we have gone and seen one to one development practices into a powerful enabler of the organization's agility, collaborations, and performance. As the businesses they navigated increasing the complexities much more now thanks to Trump uncle. Then disruption, then the changes, and the team coaching has really emerged because of all these nuances as a vital lever. That's what I feel personally. This is really bridges the individual brilliance with the collective intelligence of the team. as I said, I'm really experiencing it personal at the personal level here in this particular group and the chapter. The future of the team coaching as such lies not just improving how team works together, but how they think together, adapt together, and lead together. And I'm talking on my thoughts. I'm not stealing anything from the speakers because they have got much more deeper level conversation. They're going to do it. So definitely it calls for the coaches who can integrate the system thinking, emotional intelligence, and the, so to say, cultural awareness while fostering the psychological safety and the trust while they coach. So now is the era where coaching is talked about. Even tomorrow, I'm speaking somewhere. Era of AI in coaching. That's the Asia's first conference. The hybrid workplace, another dimension. The cross-functional teams are definitely redefining everything in the way the team operates today. So how we as a coaches support them is the big question. The challenge before us, as I feel, is to stay of this curve, to evolve our practices, embrace innovations, and remain grounded in the human connection, which is the core of it. And that is what most probably I'm going to talk tomorrow. AI, how it is going to replace a support or the coaches with AI who are going to thrive the top of the waves instead of drowning. So today's discussion, I'm sure, is going to open the new horizons, exploring new models, mindsets, and methods. And I'm looking forward how I can, as a coach, shape the next generation of team coaching. If I can, it'll be a great success for me. So let's use this platform to share, question, co-create ideas that will define the future of our own profession, the coaching. I once again, on behalf of ICF Mumbai, I warmly welcome once again to all of you. Let's embark the journey of learning and discovery to engage, elevate, and empower the teams of tomorrow. Thank you. Welcome once again. Over to Dexter and the team.
Thank you, Sanjeev, and welcome to all of you once again. We have 7 chapters from India participating here today. In the participant, we have about 10 global chapters, and we have ICF global members, another dozen or so. So we've quite a few people from India and across the globe. So welcome to you all. And Nitin and Saras, your message is going right across the globe from over here. So wish you all the best, and please call on us for anything that you need along the way. Yeah, we are here to help and support. Take it away.
Thanks, Dexter. Nitin, how do you want to start?
I think I would want to start by saying it looks like Sanjeev has taken a peek into our test deck. Whatever he was saying, there's some piece of information here and there, which was there, what he was talking about, and I'm glad, Sanjeev was talking about that. Um, and I also want to start with saying in today's session, we are not going to talk about the how-to of team coaching at all. We are going to talk about the landscape of how the team coaching has evolved, what the future looks like, and potentially how can we prepare ourselves, for that future is what we're going to talk about. Before I jump, do you guys have any guess of when was the first time team coaching as a term was used? Just put the year that you can think of in a chat box. When was the team coaching as a term was used first time? And I'm not able to see the chat, so I'll see if.
Yeah, looking. So far, nobody is guessing. Everyone's playing safe. Okay, why? 2005. Manuj, 20 years back, says Anuradha, playing very safe over there. 1996, Nidhi. 1992,
1992, 2000.
2000s,
So I guess
2015.
I guess a lot of guesses,
Yeah.
and I think that's what people travel through the journey today to see when this whole work with teams started and when was this coined and how did the evolution happen and what's happening today. In the first part of the webinar, we'll cover that, and we'll also cover that how the reality from past and today is changing. and Saras will walk you through that. And then we'll talk about what the future of the work with teams look like.
Okay, so we need those who are not speaking to mute their mics, please.
Done,
1830.
Dexter.
I guess
Unmuted them.
All
1830,
right.
1992. I guess somebody's looking at ChatGPT. So thank you for your responses. Saras, you want to add anything before I start?
I just wanted to say that I was looking at the responses. Some of them were very specific, and some of them were around, so that way. So I think, and yes, there has been some support from AI and Chat GPT, etc. So it'll be interesting to actually now see what is it that you're going to unveil.
And I honestly, I'm going to share the data based on your research, based on our research and our knowledge that we have had, and let's see what it says. I hope you guys can see my screen.
Yes, we can see you. You'll have to put it in presentation mode. Okay, wonderful.
Okay. I guess we'll talk about timeline, changing landscape, and then I'll not talk about dialogue and dialogic. We will cover as it evolves. Then we'll have a very interesting activity for you, which is called telling your stories, and then we'll look at what is the emerging future in the coming time frame, and how does the whole system role play in there, and what's the role of coach, and what's our point of view. So let's look at the timeline. So in early research, the work with team and group actually started in 1920, 1930. And there were a lot of work that happened, but even OD as a practice did not start by then. OD actually started somewhere around 1960, and that's when the Tuckman model also got evolved. Around 1965, the norming, performing, storming phases. And interestingly, Tuckman model research was all around the groups, not the team. So it was, while it was used across the teams, but it was really researched around the groups. Real research and extensive activity actually started happening in 1990. There was a lot of research that was done. Katzenbach Smith started working on this activity. There were a lot of studies that was happening on the team performance, dynamics, and it was completely focused on interpersonal dynamics and psychological safety at that point. And as it evolved, 1999 was the first time team coaching as a term was used in the academic literature. And only in 2020 is when it started to get recognized as a separate modality than the facilitation, team building, and development. And that's when the team recognition of the team coaching started. And that is the time when the researchers like Hackman, Ruth Wagman, and others, they started putting in a lot of effort to define, what the team coaching will look like. Uh, the whole model that is now existing as called 6 conditions was actually based on the research that Hackman and Wagman did around 2000, early 2000 aspects. And that's in 2005 is the when they first came up with the definition, so-called definition of team coaching. And that was the first definition of team coaching that was defined in 2005, which was a direct interaction with the team intended to help members make coordinated and task-appropriate use of their collective resources in accomplishing the team's work. And you'll see how this is changing, because right now it is only focused on team and its outcome. As this evolved, the demand for the team coaching started as a profession. But the expectations from the organizations was still that the leaders in the organizations would continue to play the role of a coach and not hire the coaches externally. That's how the team coaching was evolving around 2010. Then came a rapid growth during the time frame of 2013 to 2019, And that's where a lot of work was done by Peter Hawkins, Ruth Wagman, David Clutterberg, Alexander. All of them were working around this field during that time frame, and many new definition comes in. When as per research, there are 15 definitions that actually came in during that time frame, in different ways, and they were scattered. So it was difficult to assimilate, what is right, what is wrong. Is there a standard around team coaching? So it was continuously evolving, and no foundational standards were established till that time. Only in 2019 and 2020 is when the definition, standards, competencies around team coaching started to emerge. The accreditation, so ICF and EMCC, they defined their team coaching definition in 2019. ICF defined the competencies also in team coaching, of team coaching in 2019. But interestingly, ICF did not start their accreditation in 2019. Only EMCC started. So GTCI, which is Global Team Coaching Institute, and EMCC, they kind of partnered hand in hand. And EMCC and GTCI, that was the first team coaching external certification that was started because the demand in the industry was coming up. And if industry was now looking at people who are certified, more credentialed, there is a standard that can be defined. And if you see, it's very analogous to the early days of individual coaching where there were no standards, and then the ICF EMCC came in, their standards defined, and then the demand in the organizations increased. So we are in the space where now the demand in the organizations is increasing. So for team coaching specifically, this is still very early age. If you look at for any modality to mature, it probably takes 50, 60 years, to kind of mature that modality to work. And we are still, in 20, 21, 20, 25 years of new modality that we talk. It is in 2023 when ICF started their ACTC and AATC. AATC are Advanced Accreditation of Team Coaching and Advanced Certification in Team Coaching. And ICF, while defined team coaching in 2020, they actually started their accreditation much later. And interestingly, I don't know if you have had a chance to attend our program on new competencies, but new updated competencies of ICF has started to bring a lot of systemic view. So during the 2013 to 2019 and 2019, there was a lot of systemic views started to emerge around the team coaching. And when we talk about systemic view, the view that was evolving is that the team alone is not the only entity, but they work along with the system. So there is a need for to take the input from system, do the pre-assessment, do the mid-assessment, do the post-assessment to see what has changed. That is the involvement of system that is being talked about so far in the involvement. And I'll stop and see if there are any questions. Otherwise, I will hand it over to Saras to talk about the realities.
This is a very nice slide, and thank you for taking us through this progression, Nitin.
Welcome. Thank you. Saras, over to you.
Thanks, Nitin. So evolution talks about there is something which is changing, and therefore there is a response to the change, right? And so what really happened, if you were just to don't look at teams, don't look at coaching, don't look at anything, but just see what's actually happening in the environment around us, which actually created a lot of change to which organizations started adjusting or adapting to. And it kind of started with, and I remember this, I started my career in 1990s. And in 90s, one of the things that came up was India became an economy where they allowed foreign direct investment. So that's what happened. That was a huge change. And that change happened, there was a spike. And the spike was, to put it in a very general manner, the spike was about, can we become more professional? And that used to be the need of the organizations. I remember a lot of our consulting projects at that point were about how to make organizations professional at a very meta level. And actually, so what does this actually tell us in terms of how did organizations actually start adapting to what was happening? So in the earlier days, when you may talk about, when Ford Motor Company went through their entire process of, how do we create the largest change? This was somewhere in late 70s, early 80s. And similarly, when organizations actually started moving from saying, how do I need to adapt to change? It always came from an impetus from from need to change from the external environment, and therefore figuring out how does one need to change. So doing a thorough diagnosis and getting into what needs to be the plan for change. And the consideration at that point was that organizations, whenever there is a change impact, we can adapt to it, because change happens at a point in time, and therefore we are able to respond to it. So it was more from a from a rational and a technical perspective. So what does it change to today? And today, I don't know if and I'm quite sure all of you are facing this, but there is a lot of change, a lot of uncertainty, and the pace of change itself is so high. And these are all terms that all of us understand. So the current reality is about it being a VUCA world. Current reality is about, brittle, anxious, and, non-linear and so on. So all these changes that are taking place is actually made our response rate, the need for a response rate faster. That's why you start hearing terms like, we are hearing terms like fail fast. So are you able to fail fast so that you can learn and adapt to whatever is happening? So your learning needs to happen at a far, far much faster rate, right? So that's what seems to be happening. Similarly, change and the need for change. Earlier, if there was a leader who was leading the change, now it seems like there are challenges. There are very adaptive challenges, which basically means wherever it is happening, people should adapt to that. And the reason why these two, there is a distinct difference between these two is the earlier one used to be called the diagnostic stage, and the current one is being called the dialogic stage. Let me also share with you a little bit where this has come from. While we were looking at team coaching and the evolution of team coaching from a team coaching siloed perspective, but that happened. If you could just go back a little bit, Nitin, I just wanted to talk about these two, or you could go to the next slide. That's fine too. The reason for that change to happen started from a place that pace of change has become fast. What we were doing earlier is not working, and therefore things are moving, and therefore team coaching, which was started somewhere in, I think, 1980s, is what you said, Nitin. Is that correct? 1980 or 1990 was the first time it was being mentioned.
1999 was the first time it was
First time
mentioned,
it
but
was
the
being
work
mentioned.
started earlier.
The work started earlier, and there was silence. When the work started to 1999 and 2005, when actually things became a bit more clearer, there was silence. Silence basically doesn't mean work wasn't happening, but there was very little work happening. So there was no need for team coaching. So what is causing this? And I'm going to say this voice that we are hearing, that team coaching is important today, and it's becoming, it's a space where organizations are going to be, and it's also the future for organizations. And therefore, what we are talking about is how we are moving from a diagnostic to a dialogic space. And where does this actually come from? If you're an OD consultant, you may be familiar with it. Even if you're not an OD consultant, you may be familiar with it. And that is where dialogic approaches, diagnostic approaches and dialogic approaches actually came from OD, which spoke about response to change. Right, and that's where it comes from. And one of the good sources that you could go and refer to is, and I'm not sure whether I'm saying the name right. It is Push, BUSHE, and I'll put it in chat later on. you could actually go there and actually look at diagnostic and dialogic, what's really going on, what's the difference.
It's there
Nitin,
on
you
our
want to-
next slide, Saras.
It's there on the next slide. Yes, thank you. All right. So what's really going on between diagnostic and dialogic? It comes from the following factors. Diagnostic worked on the principle saying that, okay, there is something in our current state and there is something in the future state that we want, but there is a gap. And because there is a gap, let us start understanding how to fill that gap. And the ability to fill that gap started from doing a complete diagnosis, problem solving, figuring out where it lay, and then creating solutions around that. Whereas today, the reality is becoming a little different. Right from the fact that we have information at the tip of our fingers. When did team coaching start? There was a lot of AI supported responses also that we got in our webinar just now. Right. So organizations are moving to a space where there is people are able to connect with each other. There's a lot of conversations that's happening. So there is no part in the organization which is not which is not isolated from the change that being experienced. So everybody is experiencing change in some part or the other. And therefore, being such networks, the dialogic mindset basically or approach basically talks about that dialogic networks are where people are actually where interactions that are taking place create more and more sense. And therefore, it's a continuous sense making organization today. And I know it sounds a little theoretical. I'll back it up with an example also. So planned to emergent, basically, the earlier part of it was saying, okay, so if we know this is the gap, how do I diagnose the problem? What is the kind of solution that I want? What would be the steps to do it and to implement that? Whereas today it looks like it's moving towards emergent, So if you're having more and more dialogues, if you're making more and more sense, then there are lots of things that are coming up. So therefore the need for change or the understanding of what needs to change is also happening at a local level. And one of the examples that I would like to give you is when we were working with an organization for whole systems change, this organization had a very new strategy. And this was a PE-driven organization, so private equity-driven organization. What happened with the organization was, because they had a new strategy, it called for speed, it called for pace. And being a PE-driven organization, there were continuous mergers and acquisition that was taking place. Right? So they as an organization were either selling off parts of their organization, they as an organization were acquiring more organization, and to the extent that they could also get acquired by a larger organization as well. So one of the thoughts that the leadership team came up with was, people are very insecure. Given the fact that we are a PE-driven firm, people are very insecure with the kind of change that they're experiencing. So that was the thought at the top, saying that why do we, need to do anything which involves people? And helping them understand how do we solve this problem. And what we discovered is when we went to the people to ask them, actually we got all of them into a room and to ask them what's going on. They said, you know what, we know it's a PE driven culture, we know what to expect. What we would like to know is where is your growth lying so that we know what we are supposed to be prepared for. And that was the response that they got from people, which kind of it was a bit of an aha moment for us as consultants, because we realized that whatever planned change we were planning actually needed to take into account what was emerging at that moment in time. And therefore the entire design of that underwent a huge change, and the approach underwent a huge change. Having said that, you want to move ahead, Nitin? Yeah. So I think independent, interdependent, we've already spoken about it, so when you have emergent, when you have dialogic, there is bound to be a lot of interdependence that's going to come up. And therefore it's hierarchical, it's top down. And at those days, I think this is very important to say, those days change was either thought of at a very minuscule level or at a large scale. And that's why those days, even today, large-scale interactive processes or large group methods for change became an organization level uh, uh, approach that people took as well. Whereas today, given the fact that organizations are dialogic, you could also look at starting the change or having dialogues around the change anywhere, right? And one of the examples or support, or maybe a little later I will share it, is about saying that the myth that people had was, if you need to embark on a change that the entire organization needs to be ready for, then it has to be large scale. So it has to come at a, at an org level. So I think that was the thought process that got carried on, in the diagnostic way as well. With dialogic, with emergence, with interdependence, there is also an understanding saying that the ontology of it is also changing. You need to not just look at the data, which is the tangible, the rational, and the analytic. It's also about what's going on in terms of intuitions, the emotions, etc. So that you're able to look at how people perceiving change. Everybody perceives change differently, not just because of the impact, the change itself they may perceive differently. And why is that important to bring all of that together? Yeah. And that's the footer that's there. It's, which tells you where it is from. And this is actually an evolution that's happening in the field of OD, diagnostic to dialogic. Yeah.
May I ask a question at this point? Or, you know, is it something like in today's evolving landscape of team coaching and the way the ecosystem is changing, is it about being completely present in the moment, in the now, and being absolutely aware of the maybe micro ecosystem that you are in from moment to moment, where what I'm coaching today and doing today may not necessarily be what I have to do tomorrow?
I'm just trying to make sure that I've understood you right.
Hmm.
Your presence as a coach or even an observer of that system needs to be at a heightened level. Yes.
Yeah.
Is that possible? Is a question. Can we
So
achieve it?
how much are you able to be present if you are blind to what is happening and you're basing it on a lot of it on past surmises, past practices? You no longer can go to a client by reading their website uh, because that will not tell you the current story
Correct.
in that
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that, Dexter. Yeah. All right. So where does that leave us? That leaves us, if this is what has been the impact of, what's really changing, and therefore this is what is propagating possibly the evolution of team coaching. What does this dialogue or dialogic actually look like? And I think that's the most important thing to talk about, right? And I want to share, because these are the understanding that we got today was not just from our experience. We were able to relate experience to theory. So where it comes from is writings by David Bohm, BOHM, by William Isaacs, and there is one more person who I'm not coming, and even Jiddu Krishnamurti, J. Krishnamurti. So there is an entire dialogue Bohm has had with J. Krishnamurti as well, where they actually talk about what are dialogues and what do they look like. Of course, and it's there for people to see. I think we can move ahead to the next one. I think the beautifully what it conveys is that it's about understanding each other. It's about understanding what is being conveyed. So flow of meaning. Yeah. And what it helps do is two things. If there is a dialogue which is happening, that inquiry helps surface and it also helps generates. Right? And the difference between two is whatever is invisible, it helps make it visible. Having said that, it also helps bring up new ideas, new thoughts, etc. So when you're actually looking at not just flow of information, but flow of meaning that's happening between people. And it also helps look at what is yet to be emerging or to be answered and those uncertainties, etc. I think one of the experiences that we had when we were working with a non-profit organization, it was a new team, new CEO, new CXO team. They were trying to create the strategy. Nobody had experience in creating strategy except for one or two people. So therefore, they actually started looking at what is it that we understand by a strategy itself? So they had long conversations around that in order to even figure out what is this, in their mind, animal called strategy, so that they can figure out what it actually looks like and how they could work it. So the questions did not, it could have very well started with, this is our goal, this is our research, and so on and so forth. But they chose to get into the vulnerable space of saying, I have not worked in strategy and I don't know what it is like. So that's where the conversation started from. And therefore, whatever is emerging through that interaction, right? Wonderful. So thank you. Thank you so much for that, Kim, if I am saying your name right. Thank you so much for that. Wisdom comes from multiple perspectives, absolutely. And therefore, it makes it emergent. And when you start practicing dialogues in teams and groups and so on, this is the beautiful outcome of it. And the outcome of it is, how do people start thinking together? How do people start understanding how do I leverage this energy of difference? And I can tell you a bit of lived experience that we've had as SCI. So we are a 3-year-old organization. And when we came together, we were very, very different people who formed this organization. And each one had their own style, each one had their own pattern. So the first few, for a first few period of time, we were actually trying to figure out, how do we start this thing that we are calling dialogue? You have to do it as a lived experience before you can actually do it with your clients. And we started realizing the meaning of what is being put up here. When we, instead of talking about differences and what is the different idea that we bring in, we started exploring, what is this difference all about? What is different from what I'm saying? And that is where the dialogue started. And just as an example.
I think,
Right.
Saras, in this VUCA BANI world that you talked about earlier, this flow of meaning is such a powerful aspect of moving into dialogue, right? And to explore what is yet to be answered, I mean, that requires courage to be wrong as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more and more, I think if Gen Z comes into the workplace, all these things are going to matter. I can already hear, the Gen Z saying that, hey, you know what, work-life balance is most important, and then my job. Where and we at our times, I think we had it slightly very differently, outlook for that before, so I think there is a lot of difference in the way the language or the communication that's happening itself is very different today. Right.
I think there was a quote from somewhere, and Saras probably can tell that, that the success of the company depends upon the dialogues that are happening in the organization. I don't know who made that statement in that quote, but it's a very beautiful quote. So, and that's why dialogues becomes the central part, of the team coaching or systems coaching, as we'll talk about as this.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right.
Uh, just to add on, Saras and Nitin,
Yes, please.
what Dexter also mentioned across. I mean, just as you're touching base on those points, today we have got that recent news coming up from Kerala being the first state to venture out with that work, in casting it into a law about the right to disconnect. I mean, that's something very powerful that's come up. I mean, legalizing that from that perspective, rather than we're just talking around on the grounds in terms of corporates as such, as leaders, I say.
True that. And thank you for sharing that. I mean, things are really changing. Nobody could have even expected something like that some time back. Right? You're expected to be there because it's the job to do so. Thank you so much. Yeah. Correct. So I think three parts of dialogue and dialogic. So while we spoke about dialogue, while we spoke about diagnostic to dialogic, basically, what are those three levers of getting into either a dialogic mindset or a dialogic approach, right? And those levers, and these are the levers that drives dialogue as well. So one is emergence, and I'm not going to talk about explaining what is emergence. The other one is narratives, the narratives that are the stories that are going on in the organization, which helps us get generative dialogues. I think from a team coaching perspective, what is now, and we'll talk about it a little, later as well. What is becoming important is what is our role in these dialogues. And we have an example of how we came in the way of dialogues and how we recognized that and moved out of those dialogues to help the team have that dialogue as well. Yeah. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So these are the three levers which actually help, if you're okay to be a coach who's able to deal with whatever is going to come up. And that's what, coaching and the different levels of mastery actually prepare you for. You're ready for whatever is going to come up. And that also helps you become, and I'm not going to say systemic thinking, but helps you practice systems, systems thinking and systems approach in a way. All right. Do you want to move ahead? So I'm just going to take a pause. Nitin, before you share this, if you could just stop share for a minute, I just wanted to give them just wanted to check in if there is any questions that is there in the chat which needs to be asked or addressed.
There are some comments, interesting comments that like Tarun says that work-life balance definition will be different for different generations. So it's nice to listen into what it means for each generation before one comes to certain conclusions. And Kim continues to offer words of wisdom, which is about it being more about designing our lives rather than living it by default. But I think it's probably micro designing, every moment. In a way, from what you're saying, it looks like disruption is going to be the order of the day, and it's something that one should welcome because it produces new paths or gives you new insight, and it kind of gives you a finger on the pulse of how the times are changing, and that what was true yesterday need not necessarily be true today or tomorrow, and that even what's true today could change tomorrow. We're living in that kind of world, right? Do you sense that?
I guess, Dexter, it's not a question of embracing anymore. Either you adopt or you get you get out. That's the only choices that you have.
Yeah,
Or you perish.
disruption will embrace you and crush you.
You
The
get
other way around.
adopted. You either
Yeah.
get adopt or you get adopted.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
disruption is there. There's nothing that you can do about it. You either adopt or you get disrupted yourself.
Yeah, we set the cat among the pigeons.
So that.
No coming back from that.
Yeah. All right. So let me just tell you what this is all about. And the purpose of this telling us stories. And Nitin, if you could just stop share for a moment. This is I'm going to call it an activity for the lack of any other word. The purpose of this is, and we've used it primarily in our whole systems change, engagements that have been done. The purpose of telling us stories is to help kickstart dialogue when you have people who are coming together who may not be used to having a dialogue apart from talking about work and performance and did you get this done or did I get that done, to start having dialogues other than that and to experience that space. Telling our stories is a very powerful tool, and we thought we will share this tool with you so that you can experience it yourself. And now maybe we can put up the slide to say what is this tool all about. So what we're going to do is we are obviously going to be putting you in breakout rooms. And in the breakout rooms, while we may not be able to give you enough time, for doing this activity. Typically, in a dialogic manner, you would have taken enough time to be able to do this. We're giving you 10 minutes. And the purpose of this 10 minutes is, in your groups, you're to discuss your point of views in terms of what is needed to enable dialogues in a team. That's the question that you are having a dialogue around. And so what will we do with this? We would like you to appoint a scribe, and that scribe will also capture what are all the similarities and perspectives that came up, and what was the differences in perspectives that came up. And once you come back to the main room, we may not be able to cover all groups, but few we can ask who are ready and can share, and the others can put it up in chat. Does that work? I can't see everybody, so I'm just hoping maybe Dexter or somebody can give a thumbs up.
Yeah, it looks like, I mean, nobody's objected anyway. So
All right.
I guess
Yeah.
by default it means it should work. But yes, would you need about what, 12 breakout rooms with about 5 people each, about 60 odd people here? Nandini,
Absolutely.
would you be
I
able to
think
do that for us? 12 breakout rooms
Yeah,
and just
breakout rooms are ready.
ready?
Okay.
Okay. Other
So
than the 2 speakers and me, and you, I guess, I know, Nandini, you want to get into the fray. You can then divide the lot. Any specific other information you want to give people? Or maybe they should
nothing
take a
else.
screenshot of that slide.
Yes. Yes, that might be
when they-
useful.
because by the time you reach the breakout room, you may, forget why you're there.
Yeah. Nitin, you want to flash that slide once
That
again?
slide again so that people can
Yeah.
take a screenshot and travel with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've got it, just give us a thumbs up, and then you're good to go into the breakout room. Okay.
To go. Can't hear.
Saras, you're on mute.
Yeah, I just realized. So I think we're doing pretty well. Nitin, what do you think? You've got a better sense of time than what I have.
I think we will have to skip one slide. I don't know. We'll see. We'll probably need another 10 to 15 minutes to finish up what we have, and then we can open up for Q&A.
Okay. Well, that's good.
But because this 10 minutes exercise itself is going to be there.
Yeah.
So we will only be having remaining 15 minutes. So I don't know if we'll have a chance for a Q&A, is what I'm thinking. Or we might have to skip some slides if we want to open up for Q&A first. Because
I think
after this, the future will come in now.
Yeah, these 10 minutes are important for everybody because it gives a real feel of what we're talking about. So it's good to have this.
Yes, yes.
So maybe what we could do is, instead of taking their responses, we could ask them to share on chat. And then we could, go ahead with what we're saying. And if anybody wants to stay back
Yes,
and
yes, on
clarify.
chat would be the best thing. On chat would be the best thing because that way you get a record also of the responses and nobody misses out on offering their views. Because in a verbal thing, then you'll have to cut some people short. So the chat is always the best way to collect the responses. And we will keep an eye on the chat, you and I also. I mean, Saras, because you'll know which part of the chat to, bring forward to talk about, depending on the responses.
Sure.
Both Saras and Nitin,
Yeah.
both of you.
So Dexter, one of the experiences that we had the other day when we were talking about this webinar thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were certain people who did not join the chat room either. They were kind of inactive through the entire webinar. And later on, we realized those were the chatbots that were inserted into our webinars.
Right. Okay. So by looking at who has not joined, and if you don't know who they are.
So Dexter, if I may just add, anybody who's not interacting is your signal.
Yeah.
So Jayachandar, I know. I'm hoping he's not a chat.
I can see a lot of known names. Nivedita is there, Francis is there. Although I may not have met them, Murthy is there, CN is there.
Yeah, some of them who have not joined are known people.
Yeah.
And so, in fact, in our thing, I think the bot also got into the breakout room because one of the participants said,
I'm sorry to intrude, but this is CN, and I'm
Yes.
not able to join a chat room because I'm traveling and
Okay.
in a vehicle. So
No problem, Sri.
Got that.
Thank you.
But thanks for connecting anyway, CN. I mean, the fact you're traveling and you still joined us is great. Thank you.
when we got stalwarts like Saras and Nitin, sharing, how can you not join Dexter?
Yeah, stalwarts like them on one end and stalwart like you on the other.
Exactly. Thanks, Dexter, for finishing it.
Where are you coming from, CN?
I've spent the day in a place called Dolvi, which is where you have that JSW factory.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's about a 2-hour ride back to Mumbai.
Oh, God bless you on Mumbai roads.
I know.
And Friday evening.
And it's raining also, no?
Yeah. That adds to the fun. This is the disruptive part we have been talking about, but not so welcome in our lives.
I think once they're back, I would definitely ask them to put it in chat, and then maybe Nitin, you could go on to the because those are some very important slides which would be useful for people.
Would they be able to view their discussions into those next slides? I mean, would some revelation come based on what they've discussed? Would it kind of get clarified through your slides? So you can tell them to watch out for how clarification comes through or how clarity comes through what they've discussed and come to certain conclusions as they look at the next slides. Maybe that would be an interesting thing for them. So they're still
actually,
active. They're
we've
still
got a
active with their
slide.
discussion.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because we've got a slide which says, how do you use this? If this is as a tool, how do you use this when you're, working or trying to enable dialogues? How and when to use it? So while the emerging future may be a little different, but I think that's a good way for them to start understanding if dialogues are important, then how?
Yeah.
Because the next concept goes into future and our close to heart topic, whole systems.
Welcome back, everybody.
So good to start, Dexter?
Yes, I think you can.
It's still 18 seconds.
Yeah,
Rooms are not yet closed.
give the instructions.
Not yet closed, is it? Okay.
Yeah. You
Okay,
can
it still says in progress.
Are closed, but then it takes time, like 2 seconds for people to get into the
people to
meeting.
come to emerge.
All right. Now they are emerging.
Emerge with their dialogues still in the mind.
Right. So we are also dealing with something which has emerged, and the emergence is that there is only so much of time left. So what, if it is okay, what we would like to do is we would like you to put in chat, the similarities and differences that came up, one, and also maybe your experience of how this exercise was, while, if it's okay to continue with what we are doing. And I think the purpose of doing this exercise, and maybe if you want to just flash that slide, Nitin, which is going to be most important for them to actually see, and then you could take it on from there. So the purpose of telling a stories exercise is to start dialogues like we spoke about, surface, anything that is aligned or diverse. So you're enabling people to actually start recognizing that there is a lot of alignment in thought and also appreciating the fact that there is a different divergent thoughts also that are coming. Because this is a non-judgmental exercise. The exercise only tells you capture similarity, capture differences. You could use it at the start of a team engagement where people are struggling to figure out how they could dialogue with each other. And when you also find that there is a situation where there's a lot of diverse views that are coming up, maybe just to stand back and look at what are those similarities, what are those differences that are emerging in this dialogue. It helps people to start practicing dialogic skills and, of course, helping them to get to know each other.
So maybe you can put it in words or a bunch of words. You don't have to actually put full sentences down. So if you have a word for how you feel about the exercise, you can put that down. If you have a couple of words of what emerged, you could put those down too. So you don't have to string a sentence together. Okay, so we are seeing some.
And it's a very beautiful exercise. If you're especially doing it in person with a team, you could actually create a storyboard on the wall and see what is emerging when people are writing.
Yeah.
It's a very engaging activity when you do it in person.
So interesting comments are coming, very helpful, emerged, ensuring psychological safety, similar thoughts shared. Uh, and Tarun said there were 4 of them in the group, and found common was the need to build space to enable trust, respect, and drive dialogues easily.
Wonderful.
Commonality, psychological safety. Group 3 identified the factors for effective dialogue, psychological safety, trust, clarity of objective and purpose. Team has one single purpose, different from the group being on the same page. Important to have space for imperfection, half-finished thoughts, intuitions, half-baked ideas. Effectiveness measured by visible results and accountability. Wow, interesting. What emerged? Purpose alignment, pre-existing team fabric, different and similarities, oneness of purpose, intent to create trust, create freedom of speech, no judgment, space to be frank, different perspectives. Where if the challenges would be different, we'd have a team that worked together and the group members did not know each other, creating safe space. I can see safe space, trust, non-judgment seems to be coming as a recurring remark. Different perspectives, again, trust, build, progress. Different roles by managers could help. Safety culture, invitation to share, psychological safety, inclusion, learner, contributor, challengers, safety by Tim Clark, 5 dysfunctions for team, people included. Wow, lots of, didn't imagine that so much would come out. So thank you very much, everybody, for this.
Lovely. Thank you. And I love the fact that I don't know how to pronounce your name, Susanto. I hope I'm saying it right. We don't feel being judged. So the discussion just flowed. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
All right. So over to you, Nitin.
Thank you, Saras. Interesting perspectives, especially on the inclusion. And I have a whole story to talk about inclusion, but at some other time. So right now we have so far we have looked at what has happened in past till current, and now we are seeing in the future, and the future is unpredictable. So what we're talking about is our view of what we are seeing in the world and what we are experiencing. Some of the things that is very evident, and I think everybody would be experiencing, is that the teams are now geographically dispersed. And the work of human and digital is becoming hybrid. A lot of human work is now being done by either the AI itself, or there are AI agents which are deployed. So now the work is going to be integrated with the human and digital, and that's going to create new kind of company. Another thing that is coming visible now, that the resilience in the organization is now not dependent only on the structure, but it is more dependent on the shared awareness, ability to reflect in time, and how are they responding to what's coming in. And because the organizations are now expecting changes which are not in time, but in a constant manner, of whatever is emerging. That's the context that we are seeing these days, and we see that it is going to only increase. If we think that the pace of change was faster earlier, then it's going to be supersonic, in the coming time frame. And hence, what's the future direction looks like? The future direction looks like that the teams now needs to start learning to self-coach, develop the capacity to learn to self-coach. reflect and sense together. Coaches would now start acting as a mirrors for the system that they are involved in, not just an expert, but as a catalyst to enable C to see themselves, right? And AI and human interaction is going to increase the collective learning. That's the direction that we are going towards. So what's it for coaches, right? What does it mean to me as a coach? Is to develop the whole systems approach. Stop looking at team as an entity or only a part of the system either. Look at the whole systems together. Hold the presence across the distance and medians, which means that even if you are working with the team, are you able to sense the relational field which is connecting this team, your client, beyond the physical space that you are seeing? How is your client connecting with themselves within, and how are they connecting with outside, and how the impacts are happening? Are you able to develop that sense while you are working with team? That's going to become extremely important, and hence the presence is going to go beyond just a coaching mindset to a whole systems mindset. Develop the capacity for the client to reflect and learn in real time. And one of the aspects of team coaching, which SCI views differently, is that it happens in the real business work and not in the offsite meetings, not in the learning environment, but in the real business environment. And it also, so the coaches also have to enable the client so that even when the coach is not present, the ability to reflect in time is still endured. Right? That's something that as a whole systems coach you would need to develop. Embrace the technology as an ally. So you will see that there is a lot of AI. I see a lot of AI and data being used by the teams that I'm working with. I can't shy away from the fact that they are becoming more intelligent because of the data and technology that they are using than a human capacity can have. And hence, as a coach, I need to create technology as an ally to come at par with my team so that they can develop technological intelligence and also a human sense. And then enabling the systems to become aware that they are not whole in itself. They are also part of the bigger system. And how they are impacting the entire system and how the system is impacting them. And it is not just only about the key stakeholders that you're working with. There's a concept of 13th fairy, I'm sure some of you understand, which does not seem like the most important stakeholder at a given point in time, but they can influence, a big time in a life or death manner. Right? So these are some of the very, very important aspects to be developed as a coach. And that's how we see the future going.
This is a beautiful slide. Thank you for sharing this.
Thank you, Dexter. And yeah, Saras.
Thanks, Nitin. So I was just thinking as you were saying, whole systems, and we spoke about what the emergent future is. I'm going to go back with a little bit of an example. So whole systems came somewhere in the 1980s. It became a process of organization level transformation where people were actually using large group methods, and there are various such methods. And one of those methods actually spoke about bringing the entire organization into a room so that you could actually work with change. And the purpose of, and that's how they viewed whole systems. And the idea was you have every perspective, you're not missing out any perspective, right? So they had very minuscule number of people who were running the show at the backdrop, whereas, the organization, people could actually come in and have these kind of dialogues. What also happened was two things. One, whole systems became a thought process of being a large scale thing to be done. And the other thing that also happened was whole systems became an event. And most people started looking at it. Okay, so we need to do something different. Let's get the organization. Let's do this. So there's a lot of ownership. There's a lot of alignment. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of a lot of different perspectives that have actually gotten shared, and that energy is created. What ended up happening was it did not get sustained, because the change at that point was being looked at from a point of view of system, process, goals, strategy, and so on and so forth. What it did not combine is how can you go below the iceberg and see what's actually needed for us to have these dialogues so that we can work with those intuitions, assumptions, beliefs, etc., so that we can actually make this change happen. So a lot of these, while some of them very, very successful, some of them also, it was too expensive an exercise and they couldn't do it any further. So what we understood from whole systems at this point in time is whole systems, and that's what we've been using with our clients as well. Whole systems is a thought process. It's a mindset which can be translated into an approach. And to define it a little further, I think you can show all of them, Nitin. So we talk about the car, we talk about the human body, but I think Russell Lakoff captures it beautifully. And he says that the performance of the whole is not the addition. And we've all heard of that. It's not equal to the sum of its parts. Actually, the performance of the whole is different because it's a consequence of the relationship and the interaction that's happening between these parts. So it could actually very well be very different from what you had imagined. And I think that's very, very important to understand. And maybe you could go ahead and share. Therefore, whole system is about understanding and recognizing those interdependencies and interconnections. It's also about saying you cannot be siloed in terms of what you're doing. Today, if you're, I don't know how many of you are experiencing this, there are some organizations still want you to work with the individual client in individual one-to-one coaching, but you may not be able to get access to working with the reporting manager and the other ecosystem. If the dialogue between the two of them is not happening, then how is that change going to work? So it's like cleaning the fish and putting it back into the dirty pond, so to speak. And therefore, and when you have these dialogues, of course, we've spoken about emergence, and people have already understood that collective wisdom helps us navigate the complexity. I think we could move ahead from here, Nikhil. I think this is one of the most important, and you can keep clicking as we say, one of the most important aspects. And that is, in order for you to enable dialogue, please remember people are going to get out of their comfort zone. So bringing them together, like telling us stories itself is something that could take some time for them to settle into a telling our stories kind of a phase. The other part is, while we are trying to create safe space, so we have, the team co-creates norms, they decide how they're going to adhere to those norms, there's observing and intervening that we can do as a coach. It also tells you how you need to, how do you need to get into that space. And I think this is one of the most important things, and that is, as a coach, and maybe you can show the next one also, it's important, if you are to surface what's invisible, then you need to make sure you are being a sensor of the energy level, the embodied experiences that the team is going through, the language and emotions. Are there, is there a resonance that's happening between them so that they can build their rapport? And while all of this is happening, it's about, are you seeing yourself? Because only if your inner condition defines how you're going to be with the client as well. And it's this continuous cycle of dialogues which helps lead to all these shifts. I'm just going to pause there.
It's like the coach becoming a vortex in a way of everything that is happening around, and then offering that back to the ecosystem. It's amazing how a lot of this wisdom came from the breakout room too.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a
Oh,
compliment.
that's a good spot.
That's a compliment to our participants.
Absolutely.
You want to move ahead, Nitin? So here is what we learned, and it's our view. We're going to share it with you. You can hold it as hard or as lightly as you wish, and that's what we would share with you. And I think the first statement that could sound a little bombastic, but please do. And there is no one model or framework or approach of team coaching that is the best. Because every team is different, their context is different, what you bring in is different, what they need is different. So there is no one model or approach which is the best approach. So you need to first understand emergence and adaptation and therefore resilience. Team coaching, in fact, we don't talk about it as team coaching. We talk about it as team engagement or working with teams. And the reason we talk about this is because team coaching is only one part of it. This telling our stories can be done at a 600, 1,500 level number of people in the, brought in together. You can even do it with a group of 8. So team coaching is only a part of the team engagement, which means that you need to be prepared and agile and adaptable to and be present to what's happening. So there are lots of messy moments that would happen. And I remember the first time when I was doing something like that, I realized that there was one there was one participant member who just kept quiet, and another one who was very distracted. And at that point in time, all imposter syndrome, all of that took over for me. But it was about understanding what is triggering me and to help, how do we address this, right? And that's why you have a co-coach, because they help you in that moment as well. And therefore, working with the whole system, even if working with a team has its own advantages because there's a larger level of influence, but even that team needs to be able to have those conversations and interactions and interconnections with their ecosystem. So coach's job is not just, and therefore, a team, I'm going to say a team engager. I don't know what else to call it, but a team engager should be working with the team to enable that space. It's not just about helping them become better and better, but it's also helping them create their own influence in that system, having better dialogues with their own ecosystem.
I just wanted to add, Saras, on the surrounding systems. And the surrounding system seems like, there is a globe and there is a surrounding system, right? But when we mean surrounding system, here it is not only about outer periphery. Surrounding here means submerged as well. It's like a sponge submerged in the water where water is penetrating the sponge as well. So there are systems that are existing within team and outside team as well. So don't take surrounding system as only outside system. I just wanted to clarify. Over to you, Suresh.
I think you could just I think we have another slide, right? Another bottom line, or are we good here?
There's one more point here. Well, I think one of the points that I want to highlight is the continuous dialogue. And while the approach so far has been you take a pre-measure, do a pre-assessment, then do a mid-assessment, and do the post-assessment. But when you are looking at the whole systems, those point-in-time snapshot doesn't work, because then the system is not engaged in the development of a team. And working with the systems needs to ensure that the system is engaged in the development of a team. So the dialogue is not point in time. There are continuous dialogues throughout the engagement. And that's a very, very important aspect to understand. And I think this is another one. We believe that it's not the team coaching or an individual coaching or a group coaching which is systemic. We believe systemic is the mindset. The way you think, the way you approach, that's a mindset. And that can be applied or translated to an approach while you are working on any change intervention, whether it is facilitation, whether it is individual coaching, whether it is group coaching, whether it is working with teams, team coaching, team engagement. If the mindset has been set towards the whole system approach, then it can be applied in any of the modalities. So it is so when we say coaching mindset, the coaching mindset becomes the part of the systemic mindset is how we see it. And in the ICF competencies, actually they're now very nicely integrating that in the updates.
Lovely. Wow. This has been beautiful. Thank you so much.
So I just want to summarize a few points. So team coaching has evolved since 1999. Evolution is happening from working with teams to working with systems. With hybrid and distributed work, the pace and complexity will only increase. Whole systems work will become integral part of all team modalities. And dialogic mindset is going to be the critical part of both. And all of this, while we are saying this, we recognize that this is our view as of now of future. The field of working with teams is still evolving. And that's where I'll stop and take any
Wonderful.
questions.
26 years since it started, and look at how it has changed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Can I ask?
Yes, Shalini.
Is it a good time to ask, Nitin?
So we
Answer
kind
this.
we kind of run out of time, but please ask, and then I'll ask Nandini to present something that we have for Saras and Nitin.
Sure. So I would quickly ask that, since we just got it, that it is about systems coaching, and it is, what I am curious to know that how it is different from individual coaching. And the way in the individual coaching, we always set an agenda with the client, and then we work, around that. So there is a specific goal, and that's how the client is, working with us. Now, when we are working with the team, do we also set an agenda, with the people? And so it is more about engaging them, but engaging towards what? I mean, there must be some context or some agenda towards it. So I just need a little more, information on that, if you can.
Thank you, Shalini, for asking that question. And yes, just like you set up agenda with the individual, you also work with team. But I want to, respond to your initial question. It's not a whole systems coaching. Whole systems is a mindset which can be applied to individual coaching as well as team coaching. And the concept of whole systems is to involve the whole systems into the change that the individual or a team is embarking on. If you look at the ICF updated competencies recently, ICF has actually made changes to their agreement competency, where they've specifically identified that while you are creating agreements and identifying in the goals, you also bring in stakeholders and establish their accountability towards the change goals. They've articulated it in that language. So it's not just about individual embarking on the journey, it's about system embarking on journey along with the individual. Does that answer the question, Sharon?
Yes. And though, I mean, this is not the only one. I think we would like to have many more such kind of webinars from you. So the questions will keep on coming. Thank you so much for answering it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Shalini, and thank you so much, Saras and Nitin. You've done something quite superhuman to talk about this nuanced and layered topic in less than 90 minutes, because we took away the first 15 minutes from you actually uh, by the dialogue to this. Very grateful to you. Thank you so much. Don't want to keep you further, but there's something that we have in store for you. So, Nandini, could you please present our certificate of appreciation as a token of our gratitude
Oh, wow.
to
Thank you.
Saraswathi and to Nitin, and we'll be sending you these electronic copies to you by your WhatsApp, email, whichever you feel is preferable. But thank you so much for everyone over here who has been here throughout the CCU forms. There you go, Nitin. The CCU link has been put up. Please fill in the feedback as well as your CCU details, claims. We will send this to you within about 7 days from receiving your. So by latest by around 11/11 you should get, which is basically 11th of the 11th month. You should get your certificates with you, but in all probability before that. Thank you so much. Any comments you want to leave for our speakers as you go? They'd be very happy to read through them. You don't have to spend time dialoguing because you must be wanting to go to dinner. But it's so wonderful that we've consumed the dessert before dinner with this session. Thanks again. Anybody who wants to unmute and say something, you're welcome to. If you're still here and you want your voice heard, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it was a very, very insightful session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I also would like to say thank you so much, Saraswathi and Nitin. It is so wonderful to have you here. It was it was like a lovely session. And I remember we haven't clicked the picture also, Dexter. So
but I think Nandini would have probably got some of the snaps. We have some. Don't worry, we have quite a few of the pictures of the other. But just to satisfy that, if you want to, Nandini, if you want to get whoever's left.
If everybody would like to come
26
on,
people are there.
Yeah, whoever's left, please turn on your video cameras. We're gonna get your wonderful faces smiling with the knowledge we've got. Please turn on your cameras. We'd love to see you.
Saraswathi and Nitin, thank you very much for a fabulous evening. Thanks, Dexter.
Thank you. Thank you.
Most welcome.
Thanks, Dylan.
It's our pleasure to have you. Okay. Any more people likely to turn on their cameras? We are happy to record you.
One more time. One. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night. God bless.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Have a lovely month ahead of November.
Thank you very much.
And see you maybe at our virtual event coming in the middle of November. Look out for our flyer on that.
Bye-bye.
We have something on leading with compassion. Bye.
Thank you so much.